The Spotlight, shining a light on podcasts and videos that have caught our attention.
Hi and welcome to The Spotlight. I'm Jen Spiker, and today I have a podcast worth sharing, especially for the guys. Momentum is a Christian radio ministry created to help men find faith in Christ and fellowship, honesty and support amongst each other. The program is heard on Vision every weekend and on demand in the Vision app. The hosts, Des Kennedy and Timothy Charles, have a variety of guests on the show talking about topics that are relevant to men. On a recent program, Tim and Des spoke with Jonathan Doyle on the topic of self-sabotage.
The Spotlight with Jen Spiker.
And look, the fact that we step into this space every week is awesome, and we love this, and hopefully you listening get something from the shows. I mean, otherwise Des and I are just talking to ourselves, which is never a good thing. But in all seriousness, you know, that the whole point of Momentum is to help men do life better, and so we talk about stuff that hopefully is relevant to you. You can get something from, maybe bring an awareness, maybe bring some stuff up so you can deal with it and move forward. I think we talked about in one of our previous shows, is one of the first videos that we uploaded on the YouTube was with our guest today, Jonathan Doyle, life coach, author, speaker, amazing guy with an amazing brain. And Jonathan's back with us today. Hey, Jonathan, I saw your face when I said that. You just operate on a different level, mate.
No, I've still got kids and they keep me very, very grounded. Yeah. You know, on stage, I get these fancy introductions and, you know, as soon as I get home, I come back to reality very quickly.
To reality. You walk in through the door and reality hits. I get it.
I grew up with brothers too, and I was the youngest for many years, so I don't get ahead of myself too quickly.
That's a good thing.
But you do a lot of reading, man, and you do a lot of stuff, and you've brought a lot to Momentum over the years, man. Yeah. We appreciate that because you operate on different levels, and you read a lot, and you bring a lot of this stuff not only into your own life, but then you impact a lot of people as a result. Last time we talked a bit about core beliefs, and we're interesting human beings, right? I mean, we're fascinating in the way that we operate, and so we want to just kind of bounce off that this week and start with the idea of self-sabotage. The fact that we would sabotage ourselves is a really interesting concept. So let's, I guess, start there. Why the heck do we do that? Let's start with the easy one.
The first thing is that if you've ever done it, you're in very good company because turn on your television for 5 minutes and you're going to see some A-list celebrity blowing up spectacularly, right? So self-sabotage doesn't seem to be excluded by position, wealth, power. Most of us at some point in life seem to have a really red-hot go at doing it. Yeah. So the obvious question is, why would we, right? And we mentioned this in a previous episode, that we would like to believe that we are always acting in our own best interests, that we are always on our own side. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So what explains it? The best, I guess, explanation that I've worked with over the years is that self-sabotage is a manifestation of unresolved internal emotional conflict.
Wow.
I've been reading about it for many years and obviously working with executives on it. And this comes from a guy called Peter Michelson, and he wrote a really good book called Freedom from Self-Sabotage. A lot of stuff in this area is pretty fluffy. It's like, you know, you need to love yourself and stare in the mirror every day and say affirmations, and maybe that works, I don't know. But this book, he's a psychotherapist. It was very well written. So he talks a lot about these unresolved internal emotional conflicts, right? So what we need to understand is that we're actually always looking for congruence in how we see ourselves. We actually try and act in the world the way we think we are. The problem with these unresolved internal emotional conflicts are they're internal and they're often subconscious and they're not at top of our mind. So we might think that we like ourselves. We might think we deserve to be successful. We might write goals about it. But if that deeper internal architecture is fractured or broken, we are only going to let ourselves get so far in life before we do something to retard it. And another way to think about it is like a thermostat in a house. You know, once you set a thermostat, say in Australia at 21 degrees in summer, then the system's going to turn on and off and keep coming back to that baseline. So a way to think about self-sabotage is whatever your internal baseline is, if you think you're a really good person and you're kind and that people like you, you're going to keep moving up and down around that baseline. if you think you're damaged goods and you don't deserve anything good in life, you're going to keep doing things. Like if people are really nice to you or your career starts going really well, there's a good chance you're going to do something to bring yourself back to that baseline of, I'm not a good person, nothing works for me. That's the basic mechanics. It's an internal tension between what we say we want and what we say is important to us and what we actually believe we deserve. That would probably explain the dynamics of self-sabotage.
Is there a process you go through to do that? I mean, if somebody who's listening, who's, understands and recognizes this self-sabotaging that they're doing, I mean, are there steps that you can take on that journey that you would recommend? Yeah,
the first step is to say to yourself, if nothing changes, what does this cost me?
Yeah.
Right? That's the first step.
Oh, that's good.
So if you're a guy that's maybe got some addictive pattern, whether it's pornography, sex addiction, alcohol, time wasting, social media, violence, aggression, you lose you blow up at the smallest thing. The first step is to have the courage to say to yourself, what does life look like if this never changes for me?
Wow, that's good.
If this never changes, what does it look like at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80? What's my legacy? What am I leaving behind? What if nothing changes? And as you guys know, tomorrow I turn 50 and one of the things that's been happening for me as I hit that milestone is I'm like really accepting that when you're younger, you think life goes on forever. You're like, you just life goes forever. And like now I'm going, oh man, I'm 50. I don't feel 50, but I'm like, time's finite, Jonathan. Like, you're not going to have forever to work these things out. Like, if you want to be the best you can be for others in this time that you've got left, what still needs to change? So step one is to go, if I don't change, what's the future look like? Step two is to create environments by which you can encounter the truth. So silence, stillness, because I travel so much, I get to sit in some of the most beautiful cathedrals in the world. In the last 2 months, I've been in St. Louis, Oklahoma, New Orleans, California, and I'll go and sit in these beautiful churches. And sometimes it's just sitting in those spaces that just give you that space and that time to really access a different level of your consciousness. And then from there, for me, it's journaling. I used to worry about people finding my journals. I was like, and now I'm like, well, if someone finds it and reads it in my own family, then I would, disown them and make them leave. No, I wouldn't do that. But I'd be like, but I'm starting to go, no, you got to do this. Jonathan, you got to have the freedom to tell yourself the truth. And so I journal a lot. And then there's the prayer piece. There's just asking God to slowly reveal to me the places of woundedness and brokenness. I mean, the sabotage comes out of brokenness. It comes out of wounds. And so that's some of the basic steps for me anyway.
I love that. But I have a question. A lot of us, if we could, we would change ourselves, right? I mean, and the truth is that we're giving people keys to do that. But having the support base around us is crucial, and we've talked about that before. And you mentioned about having the trusted safe spaces to go to tell you the truth. I mean, that's important as well, right? But I had a conversation with someone this morning about, and it was a very simple piece of simply having somebody else. And I think we talked about having someone listening in the last show, Jonathan, people just listening to you, feeling like you're seen and you're heard, right? But having somebody actually believe in you at a core level. Because a lot of us, I think, have done life where we haven't had that person, and our mum and dad perhaps didn't do that, or, we've never really had that person that's sat and gone, but eyeballed me and gone, but I believe in you. I believe that you can do this. I believe that you can become this person that you dream of or want to become, or, you know what I mean? Just having somebody in that space to come alongside you and go, but you've made some, whatever. Maybe you've made some wrong choices, but I believe in you. I still believe in you. I'm here for you. Like, tell us about the importance of that. Not just someone to have a listening ear and tell you the truth at times, but to have someone that can say, I actually believe in you, because I don't think many of us have had that. Man, I'm like literally, seriously, like I almost said the hair on my head standing up, but there's not a lot of that. Tim, that's brilliant. Like, that is brilliant. You're right. It is not enough just to have someone to listen to you. We are desperate. Many men are desperate for a man of a certain type
to look at them and see what they could be and not just what they are. You know, I've had a few of those in my life, and there's one particular guy, and I'll just give him a shout out. So Phil Ryle is a businessman that owns Harvest Pilgrimages, and they do global Christian pilgrimages. An amazing guy. And Phil has lavished time and care over me. Like a few years ago, we were going through a really challenging time, and he would ring me on a Saturday morning for 2 to 3 hours every Saturday. And I just couldn't, I just still, like, he was such a busy guy and still is, but he would speak into my life and into the future, and it had such an effect over time, right? And now as I get a bit older, I'm starting to be privileged enough to do that for some others. And, you know, I just want to encourage the men listening, you either need to find someone like that, and some of you listening need to become someone like that.
And both, in fact.
Yeah, it's such a gift just to have an older man go, no, this is not the end. This is not going to end in disaster. We are going to turn this round. This is who you really are. This is what God's plan is and heart is for your life. Yes, it's a disaster right now, but that's not, the story isn't end. It's not ending here. And, you know, I keep telling people, God doesn't tend to put full stops on stories. He doesn't tend to go, well, that's it for you. Like, you know, you've really screwed up now. Sorry. He's always writing the story. So, Tim, that's brilliant. I hadn't thought of that. And I'm just going to take what you've said and pretend that I came up with it.
You can use it.
Because, man, what a blessing. Go find that man. And if you can't find him, start praying that he'll come into your life.
Nice.
I was literally in Dallas, Fort Worth airport a few weeks ago, and I got a text out of nowhere from a guy that I used to, you know, mentor. I first ran into him when he was, you know, it's 20 years ago, and I hadn't heard from him for years. And I got this text, and it was just like, JD, I'm in trouble. It's really bad. And I literally texted him from Dallas. I said, mate, I hear, I got you. I said, and then a few weeks later, I was in another city back in Australia. We met up, and I just had the privilege of listening to him, and it's awesome. It's just it's a real privilege to do that kind of stuff.
On the Spotlight, we've been listening to Tim and Des from Momentum, and part of a recent conversation with Jonathan Doyle on the topic of self-sabotage. If you want to jump in and hear the rest of their conversation right now, you can by tapping the podcast tab in the free Vision app. Just search the Momentum feed for the episode called Self Sabotage. If you have a favourite podcast or video series that should be featured on the Spotlight, click Contact Us at vision.org.au and share the link. My name is Jen Spiker. Join me next time as I highlight another podcast or video on the Spotlight.
For more great podcasts and videos like the one featured today, check out vision.org.au or the free Vision app.